I already know I'm going to have a vulnerability hangover from this. Oh, okay. So I've been running this podcast for 5 years now. No, that can't be. Since 2018. I've been running the podcast since 2018, so almost 5 years now. I think it'll be 5 years. Oh, no way. I'm losing my mind right now. 5 years of running the podcast in June of 2023. That feels so crazy to me. And I have always had like big desires for what the production of this podcast could be, and never really had the capacity to take it on to the caliber that I wanted to take it on to. And even right now I don't, but at this point it's like there's no other option. It's just an excuse really to say like I don't have the capacity, I don't have the time, because the things that are important to us we make the time for. And there have definitely been things that have been more important, as far as like the Academy of Breath, my coaching programs, my mentorship, navigating my personal life. But this year has really been about not holding back and just going for it. So here we are going for it. This is the first recorded solo episode that's also a video. And I don't know exactly how this is going to turn out. I don't know how I want to structure this series moving forward, because there is the podcast, but what I wanted to create, kind of inspired by my program from December in my mind, which was really like the behind the scenes of everything that I was doing, but it was very strategic, and it was very like, this is what I'm doing to prepare for my year. This is what I'm prioritizing. This is what I'm navigating. And this feels a little bit different. And when I was feeling into it the other day, I was like, gosh, like this is me really going there. And so the theme of this series, which I want to do at least once a month, but maybe even more, is really just going there with you. And I think, coming back to this idea of the vulnerability hangover, it feels like really exposing the parts of myself that I have attempted to protect over the last year, especially. A lot has been revealed to me even this morning around how I've been protecting my heart. And it just makes me really sad, because in the ways in which I've protected my heart as it relates to my business, but then also in other areas of my life too, it has been a way to keep me safe from getting hurt, but in doing so has created this distance between how I feel people see me and perceive me, and the relationships and the bonds that we can build even through the screen. And I think that this is my shaky attempt at wanting to remove that space and really show you who I am and my heart, because I feel so deeply and desire so much and want to help people on like such a like guttural level inside of my body. And I know that part of helping people is also removing the, not expectation, but I think just removing the space that I have put in between who I really am and like my brand. And I am at the core Ava Johanna, but I feel like over the past several years, what I've noticed is that sometimes it's really hard for me to be my softer self, even with people in my personal life, because of this brand that I've built that is all around empowerment and confidence and personal power. And so much of that came to the surface last year. So I wanted to make this first episode of going there be like a real, like, just peek behind the curtain of what was going on last year in my life, and the highlights, the lows, the challenges, and talk to you about how, as an entrepreneur, I noticed that I was protecting my heart and I was closing my heart off, and I don't want to do that anymore. So this is my declaration that I'm not going to do that anymore, and my first big action in not doing that anymore. So one of the things that I wanted to kind of kick off, and I'm going to look at my phone because I wrote down some notes, was talking about one of the biggest challenges for me last year, which actually had nothing to do with business, but actually, when I faced it head on, created so much success and freedom and inspiration and excitement again, and creativity, and just like fire inside of my belly in my business. So it was so connected. And I think this is something that's so big that we don't think about, is like how everything is so connected to each other, and like how the things that are going on in your personal life 100% impact what's happening in your business. And there's like this duality that we have to navigate. And I know on my podcast, I have shared this before, but last year was when Corey, my ex, and I decided that we were officially going to separate and begin to dissolve our marriage and get divorced. And I mean, gosh, it was, I don't want to say it was a long time coming, because there's so much love in that relationship. And still to this day, like, I care about him so much and I love him so much, and I miss my best friend. But it was a decision that was like deep in my everyday experience for over a year. And so I was living with it and contemplating it and feeling anxiety because of it almost every single day in 2021. And into the beginning of 2022 was really where it just all came to a head, where I was like, this has taken over my life. And I have such an important mission on my mind and on my heart. And my work is not just my work, it is like my purpose. And I feel like I'm not able to live it out because I have this cloud of anxiety because of the relationship weighing me down. And again, it wasn't a bad relationship. It just wasn't right. And I knew that it wasn't right. And he knew that it wasn't right. And it was so hard because my family loved him. My best friend, her and I stopped being friends because of me navigating this relationship and what I was going to do in my marriage. And it just like, my whole life was wrapped up into this relationship. And so there was so much fear that came up, and such a loss of other people in my life because of this decision. And so it was really hard for me to make. And it was so challenging because there was such a grieving that had to come with it. I was literally grieving the life that I had lived. I was grieving not only my marriage, I was grieving my future. I was grieving my relationship with my best friend, with many friends that I had in San Diego. And really, like, it felt like everything that I had lived up until that moment, like there was a very definitive, like, this was your life beforehand and this is your life now. And nothing from the life before is going to come with you. And it was really, really hard to have all of that going on while at the same time having multiple people on my team, having clients that I was supporting, wanting to be like in the energy of and excited about my business. But when I actually decided to make that choice of leaving the relationship, as challenging as it was and as much grieving came after that point too, it felt like I was finally coming up for air and finally able to focus on the parts of my life that I was like desperately missing, which was living a life on purpose, being creative, feeling free, feeling like the world is my oyster. Like I felt so limited in my life and not seen at all, either in my relationships, any of them. And once I made the decision, it felt like I was able to finally write my story again. And it was the blessing and the curse, right? It was so challenging, one of the biggest challenges of the year, but also so freeing because it set me on a new path and gave me a new start and a new chapter to really write of my own. But I didn't realize that a lot of what was happening in that relationship, or all of my relationships really in my personal life, had such an impact on my business in 2021, where I just felt like this massive existential crisis. And I know a lot of people listening to the podcast have heard me talk about this, but something that came up for me today in my meditation was like 2021, grieving my relationship, my friendships, the life that I thought I was going to live, impacted my business, my creativity, my purpose on such a level that I entered into this like really dark hole of feeling so uninspired, so lost, so confused as to what I was here to do, and just didn't feel good enough. Because I didn't feel seen in my personal relationships, I started to project that onto my business, and it just created all of these like little paper cuts on my heart that I realized last year, 2022, that once I made that decision in my personal life, I actually like really chose to just close my heart up completely in my business. And it honestly, like it's come up a couple times for me over the past month, having like little reminders of that, of like, come back to your heart, come back to your heart, come back to your heart. Because it makes me really sad. In 2020, when my business like really started gaining momentum and people started paying attention in ways that they hadn't before, I was so just like in my heart every single day. Like it felt like poetry. My work felt like poetry. Like it was so beautiful. And through all of the chaos that came up in 2021 and the beginning of 2022, I just closed my heart and put my head down and got to work. And, you know, it was my biggest year yet. And honestly, after I made that decision and walked away from the relationship, even though it was really hard and I was like really balancing and like holding the duality of everything I was navigating in my business, I also met my partner, Matt, who is just absolutely incredible. And I'm so in love with him. And it just is everything that I've ever wanted in a relationship. And also had a 6-figure month in business. I bought my house last year. And so there was all of this amazing stuff that was going on. Like 2022 was really my best year yet. I was the happiest I'd ever been or have been. I'm happier every single day. And so much success, so much overflow, so much abundance. Like truly, it was $500,000 a year. My business surpassed over 7 figures generated in revenue since 2020. Like it was huge, absolutely huge. And over this past month, I realized I was still protecting my heart. I was still protecting my heart. And it got me thinking, like, if I'm able to achieve that with my heart partially closed, not letting people fully see me, experience the human in me, imagine what can happen if I let myself open my heart again. How far will I go? How quickly will I collapse time? And it just gets me really excited to have had that revelation, because now I get to really lean into what it means to lead with an open heart and to let my humans, my people, my community see me and see all parts of me, the human, the leader, the CEO, the content creator, the mentor, the teacher, the girl too. You know, I think that one of my biggest things, I guess, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like, is it a curse? Is it a gift? Maybe it's both. Is a desire to be seen. And I know that it's because I'm a projector in human design. I get it. But it's hard in this entrepreneurial world online to have such a deep desire to be seen, have expectations around what being seen looks like and feels like and is at certain levels, and to not feel that. It's frustrating. And I've worked my ass off to get to where I'm at, and I know that I am impatient as hell, and I know that I put tons of pressure on myself, and I know I have really high expectations. Maybe the expectations are outside of reality, I don't know. But this past month and like last year, I think that one of the biggest breakthroughs and also struggles that I've had is like really just like letting myself be where I'm at, letting myself be human and have the frustrations and feel what I feel. And also holding myself to the standard of, even if I feel this way, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to stop showing up. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. Which is easier said than done sometimes, but I've definitely like experienced so much of this. Gosh, I just want to be seen. I just want to be seen. And I know that so much of this comes from the year prior, where I didn't feel seen in my relationships, and I didn't feel safe even showing myself fully in those relationships, because I didn't feel like people would be able to hold me. And so something that I'm bringing into now, as far as like, how am I opening my heart? How am I letting myself be seen? I think the most important thing is like, how could you ever feel seen if you're not letting yourself be seen? And so the breakthrough piece around this is like, if I want to be seen, then I need to put myself out there to be seen, and not just put myself out there in a curated way, not just put a portion of myself out there, but like really put myself out there. Hello, here I am on camera, being super vulnerable, sharing this part of myself. Like this is me doing it. And I don't, again, know what it's going to continue to look like, but I know that I'm going to continue refining and peeling back and peeling back and peeling back and doing the work to expose the parts of myself that I have closed off in the past. Because if I desire to be seen, if I want people to be in my world and to know me and to love me, then I have to do my part. And I think we all have to do our parts in that. We all have to put effort into letting ourselves be seen and being vulnerable with people. We can't just expect like, I want people to see me, but only show them a portion. And I think that that's something that's, hopefully that resonates with some of you, because I just, when I thought of that, I was like, oh shit, okay. It's my responsibility. It's my responsibility. So those were the challenges, the breakthroughs, the aha moments. And I guess I want to share a little bit of like what's next, or the highlights of what's happening now. You know, like I said, last year was a huge year. It was our best year yet in business. But not only that, it was like my best year in life, even with the duality of all of the pain that I was experiencing and how much it hurt. It still felt incredible. I traveled the world. I created. I succeeded. I achieved things that I never would have thought myself to achieve. Like literally, if you were to tell 20-year-old Ava what I'm doing now, she wouldn't believe you. She'd be like, damn, are you sure that's not her hubby's money? But I'm doing it, and it's so exciting and it feels so good. And I think this like next level is this big opportunity for me is to just keep showing up at a higher caliber and going to the places where I haven't felt comfortable going before, but doing it because growth is a part of my DNA. And because I know that the way in which I kind of push the limits and try new things and make moves that I used to think were unimaginable and that many people might think are unimaginable, I know that when I do it, I'm creating space for others to do it. And I want to live and lead by example. And I want to be proof that it is possible and that we are capable, and that it doesn't matter where you come from. You have the ability to create and to evolve and to heal. And I think I've just always had this mindset of I'm going to make it happen no matter what. Whatever make it happen meant at the time. And so this year is all about making it, whatever it might be for me in the moment, happen, and taking responsibility over the part that I have to play in making it happen and not being a passive participant. And I think that's where the healing and the evolution comes from. So I'm really excited about this year and excited to continue going there with all of you, because I know that the more that I can share this, the more that I share the journey, the hard parts, the amazing parts, the silly parts, all of the things, that I'm just opening doorways for more and more of you. And I hope that this has opened a doorway for you. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's it.